Spring football is right around the corner here in Norman. And for Oklahoma, this could be the most important spring season Brent Venables has had since taking over the program. Sooners aren't just installing schemes and evaluating depth charts. They're trying to figure out who the next wave of impact players will be in 2026. Which players are ready to take the next step? Which freshmen might be too talented to keep off the field? And which position battles could quietly shape Oklahoma's ceiling heading into that SEC gauntlet where they're trying to get back to the playoff for the second straight year? Tonight on Sooner Intel, we're breaking down the players we believe are most poised to make an impact when the 2026 season kicks off. Let's do it. Good evening, and welcome back to Sooner Intel. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, along with one of my co-hosts, Mr. Mason, Kchris Mason from Sooners 360. Kchris will be along shortly, I would imagine. But if you love Sooner football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss a moment of Sooner Intel. Mr. Mason, welcome back into the show, sir. Good to see you.
It's been a big week.
It's been a big week. It has indeed.
I know you did a recruiting show yesterday, right?
I don't know about it being a recruiting show so much, but kind of. I mean, we were talking about as a whole for the SEC, but yeah, it was kind of a recruiting show.
You did a little of that, and obviously Mr. Witten. So how many times am I going to call Cooper Jason while doing podcasts and talking about him over the next 4 years?
Dude, I know I've done it like 5 times, I think, in the last couple of days just talking about him, so I keep calling him Jason too.
I think it'll probably be the over-under, and that's probably going to be like 100, 120.
Yeah, it's a good guess.
Yeah, well, we're waiting on Chris. Future Freaks, I thought it would be a big weekend, but, 31 kids coming in, probably that number might get closer to 40 by the time the weekend goes through. They've got 4 or 5 kids I didn't really anticipate being there. It's a big weekend. Chris and I talked about it on Monday, and then Cooper Witten went ahead and verbaled on Tuesday just to make sure we couldn't cover that on Monday. But if you guys listen to my podcast, I gave you guys 45 minutes on the Future Freaks and 20 minutes on what the Cooper Witten verbal meant. So if you're not listening to the Sooners 360 Recruiting Pod, give that a shot. Just go to YouTube, Sooners 360, and you'll find the latest episode. Just a huge commitment. I mean, when you think about OU's possibly adding.
We can kind of start there. We don't have to, and obviously you want to get them over to your show, and I want them to do that too. But I think that, we can't really bury the lead on that. I think it's a huge pickup, right? And it looks like it's a momentum builder. But before we do that, Kchris, welcome into the show, sir. Always fashionably late, but always right on time, brother. Always right on time. So,
Jason,
I guess I'll just start with you, man. What were your thoughts about, Cooper Witten? We almost called him Jason right there. Cooper Witten committing to the program on Tuesday.
First off, Jason, when I see you, I will see you. Okay. Anyways,
I just said always right on time, brother. Always right on time.
With that being said, no, Jason Witten. I said it again. Anyways, hey, that's a big pickup. Huge pickup. That is what you want. You want momentum on the trail. I think all of us on here, Chris Mason, please back me up on this. I would say that by the end of the year, he should be a 5-star, should get that 5th star, but we know how they do OU players, right? Or OU commits, right? So it's honestly only a natural selection, but you're excited about it, and I'm excited about the prospects. Hopefully we can keep Driley, because I think that if we have the season that we all believe that this team can have, you're probably going to have some more coaches be poached, right? And it's definitely so. Dryling, Godwin, but obviously we have the Godfather himself with BV. So I think he's going to be in good hands. So it's just another really good prospect, and it's something that you definitely need because people, if you're paying attention to what Chris Mason is has been talking about in a couple of rooms, got to make sure we have the right numbers. I mean, that's kind of what's hurt us over the past couple of seasons with offensive line recruiting. You know, Chris Mason has definitely paid attention to that. So,
Yep.
always a welcome addition when you can get another linebacker because we have been kind of light in that area. So, great pickup. He looks great on film, looks
Oh
technically
man.
sound. I
Oh
think
man.
there's a lot of room for improvement, and that just shows his upside that he has. So, yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I'll say the same. I hadn't watched a ton of his film because I just assumed he was pretty good, but I went and watched a little bit of it this week, and I was like, oh, whoa, and as good as his dad was, I guess it's just you watched him as a tight end. It's not really the same thing. So it's for you start watching this kid, his motor is real. He hits with bad intentions, and he just seems to be right on the ball, Johnny on the spot a lot. So it's fun to see. I think that I would kind of second what you were just saying about the depth part. That's something that I think, especially in this day and age of college football, it's always a concern, right? As to how much depth are you going to figure out. That's I think on this defense, the beauty of it is you got a lot of guys that are really good and they expect a lot of stuff out of, even as you're not seeing as many ads through the portal unless you just really need it, like more. It seems like you always want to address the front line a little more than anything, that front four. But I think that the linebackers is definitely something that you got to take a look at as well. So at some point, but I
And
think go ahead.
I was just going to say, just want to add one thing in there before I turn back over to you guys. I think what's most exciting when you get big time prospects like this. Now, Chris Mason, I know we got to see it with the wide receivers. I know we need to see more receivers. However, defensively, when we're talking on that side of the ball, especially, it's exciting to talk about this mostly because you never know. Freshmen play, right? They play early, so you never know. So I mean that's what's really exciting about it is that you have to take a serious look at what's going on whenever somebody is committing on the defensive side of the ball because you never know who could
Are
who's
you going
going
to
to
need them
be in
right
the mix.
now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and who could eventually be in the mix because we've seen it a couple of times already. Again, like I've said in the past, CJ Colden, hell, Eli Bowen, right? Maybe not your household name first snap of the season, but by that probably third, fourth game, here they are, getting reps.
We
And
knew who Cortland Guillory was real early on in the
exactly,
season last year.
exactly, exactly,
That puppy bit.
exactly. Yeah.
So,
One thing I think that can be a little overlooked. I think maybe nationally or at other places
yeah.
is you have to factor in what a potential 5-star All-American linebacker means in the Brent defense. I mean, there are other defensive schemes out there and defensive coordinators where good linebackers are important. But when you talk about the way Brent coaches and the way he could use someone like Witten in terms of matchups and versatility, and you talk about the OU defense and how whenever OU's great at linebacker with Brent, OU's generally a great defense. I mean, there are coaches that you give them great linebacker tools and maybe they get 80% out of that, but you give Brent a 5-star All-American team captain type kid like this, and
Yeah.
the ceilings, blow it out, blow it off the roof, whatever cliche you want to use. I mean,
Well, yeah, because
it's,
you think about like Danny Stutzman being, the great player that he was, but he wasn't as highly sought after. I mean, he certainly wasn't a 5-star guy, right? But he gets the most out of who he's got. I think that Kip Lewis to me is the heart and soul of this defense at linebacker and coming back. But I think that he was a higher ranking guy. I mean, he was a blue chip guy anyway, but it was I don't know that there's that you see a ton of guys all the time that come in as highly billed as this guy, you know. So I get what you're saying. I think that the expectations there will be high. It's like Cole Sullivan bringing him in.
Yeah.
From Michigan. There was a lot of expectations going on there for him at Michigan, and you see what they're going to do. I mean, the expectations are through the roof there for him as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah, man, I think it's cool, man. I think it's cool, and I think it helps. Look, blue chip guys know blue chip guys, and so it's always helped. I think that helps with your recruiting as well, right?
Certainly doesn't hurt. So, but yeah, it's a big addition. I mean, the best linebacker recruit since Austin Box in like '06.
Ooh,
Based upon
Austin
where,
Fox, what a
based
guy.
upon where some, I look back, Caleb Kelly is probably really close to that as well.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's just a big addition, and like I'm sure Tennessee fans are the sane, rational group of fans that they are understanding why they've lost a legacy 5-star defender who could have been the leader on their defense. I'm sure they're completely at peace with this.
yeah, no doubt.
Well,
Let's get into what we were wanting to talk about. Obviously, coming into you got a couple of weeks away from now, a couple of weeks away from the open of spring practice season. Ought to be. I think there's a lot of guys that you're ready to see take that next step forward. Become a team leader, or kind of burst onto the scene, even as possibility of being a freshman that does it. But Mr. Mason, tell us how you feel like we should kind of bring this out.
Let's talk about some spring breakout players. I asked you guys to kind of do some spring breakout guys. And what I sort of meant was sort of a returning player, any classification. And this is kind of my Taylor Wine Award winner kind of category, right? Like,
Got it.
we saw Taylor Wine and we heard a lot about Taylor Wine, but I don't think any of us really expected that. I mean, we heard all about him, but for him to break out to that degree and be that kind of a star, I think was pretty shocking. So that's what I'm talking about. We got a lot of guys that are in second and third year, and development seems to be going well in Norman. So it's kind of we talked last year, I know, especially on Sooner Intel, we were worried that OU didn't add a cornerback from the portal. And we talked a lot about OU sort of betting on themselves, betting on their young talent.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of one of these things too, talk a little bit about like, well, I would have liked another guy in the portal, but, maybe we need to think about who are the breakout guys that the coaches know more about where these guys are about to go than certainly we do. So that's a little bit of kind of how I wanted to frame it. So,
Okay.
I'll kick off with my first round pick. And one area where everyone has been a little bit concerned is the defensive line, right? OU loses Grayson Holton. They lost Marcus Strong in the portal. Dominic Williams, obviously, is going to the draft as well. So OU lost, 3 guys from their D-line rotation. Obviously, we know Stone and Jaden Jackson are back. But I think, a lot of OU fans are very concerned about D-line depth and what was going on with the D-line. So I'm going to go with, I think Trent Wilson is going to have a breakout season. He's going to be the 3rd or 4th guy in that rotation, and we're going to be talking about him as a dude. This is one of these guys. Okay, Todd Bates did it again. We need to just sit back and just wait for Todd Bates defensive tackles get better every year. And I think Wilson has the potential, I thought out of high school, was just outside the David Stone kind of territory. So I think Trent Wilson is going to be that guy. He's going to be, provided.
There's the trucker right there. There's the old trucker right there.
If you watch one of the OU highlight videos that's been on Twitter that's been streaming, he's at the very end of one of them, and he has his "Are you going to eat your cornbread?" face on. That's how I like to term it. It's like a face like, you gonna eat that cornbread? Because if not, I'm taking it. So that's kind of the look he kind of has. So I think that's where I would go with Trent Wilson. I just think out of high school, his recruiting, he was very serious. Came to visit OU, verbal, that was it, done. And he was very much. And I loved him on tape. I thought he was underappreciated. I thought he was like a top 75 kind of guy.
Absolutely.
So, and
Yeah,
you just see him I saw him like at the Alabama game where they didn't dress him out, but he was just standing around with the D tackle guys, and he's freaking huge now. I mean, he's probably 6'3", 310 easy, and I think that's my first pick is Trent Wilson, and it fits that whole mode of. I think he's a big reason why OU didn't go crazy trying to offer a bunch of money to some average defensive tackles or some guys who hadn't necessarily met their press clippings as high school recruits.
Okay, Chris. Who's your first guy?
Well, obviously, as we talked about, said returning guys, I say Danny Okoye. I got to put him up there. Y'all know it's my guy. Going back, and I mean, just be honest with you, man. When that Tennessee game came on, and when he was one of those ones who got a sack, I instantly jumped up. I said yes. For me, with him, honestly, it's just all about, hey, will the technique match? Will the technique and motor match the talent? Right. I think out of everybody, even Taylor Wine coming back, I think that this is the guy that could take over for RMT. Like truly, I think that we went into last season saying who's going to be that second guy, that guy on the other side that can be disruptive. Was it going to be Marvin Jones Jr.? Was it going to be Taylor Wine? Who was it going to be? Could it be Okoye? And I think that you saw that, hey, you saw glimpses, you saw flashes of what this kid could be. So definitely got to give him a shout out. I definitely would say that he gets the nod. I think that we are in good hands, especially with PJ and Taylor Wine. I think Taylor Wine is going to be phenomenal this year. I think that he's going to take it up even another step. Guys, it's still just crazy to me. One thing me and my uncle we always would say, especially him, he said, man, hey, don't get me wrong. RMT is still that dude. R. Mason Thomas is that guy, but it's kind of like you haven't really, noticed anything. Sit him out until you really need him, like let him truly heal because I think that we're fine. Doesn't really matter.
Well, I think you were right. You were right.
Because, I kept saying, if he's healthy against Missouri, play him against Missouri. You don't really need him to play against Missouri. These guys, as fundamentally sound as they were, I think the breakout season that Owen Heineke had, stuff like it was things like that just really worked. All your glue guys and your superstars, they played their role, but they played out of those, they're outside of those worlds a whole lot this past season. So those are just things to think about. But no, I think Okoye. I think now. I will say Jimmy Satterfield said Nigel Smith, and if I could have went back, I would have picked Nigel Smith. Chris Mason.
Don't go with two, just go with one. We'll go with the second one in a minute.
I know Trent Wilson's your guy. We'll just say that would be my second one. But my second one probably be James. I think I put James Nestor, right?
I just said don't say your second
one.
Oh,
my fault. I wasn't. Anyways.
What's the matter with you?
If well, which one you want me to go with, Jason?
It's my turn right now. Damn.
Okay,
I get to pick one too. Damn.
I didn't even say nothing about the second guy.
No, it's all good. It's all good. My first one I'm gonna go with is it's right here. It's my guy, Reggie Powers. I'm a big fan of Reggie, and I mean, look, I think you could kind of say both the guys that I brought in had points of the season where we felt like they were breaking out, right? This one, obviously, the biggest play that you saw from him would have been that monster hit that he had in the South Carolina game where he just decleated that guy, and they tried to chuck him out of the game. Turned out it wasn't a bad play at all, but I'm a big fan of Reggie. I think that the cheetah position, and talking to his dad a little bit over the last couple of years, this is a position that he was kind of made to play. He played it in high school. This isn't really new to him. He's got hits with bad intentions. He seems to dissect everything. High competition guy. Just what you would kind of expect out of that safety room after the guys that he kind of learned from. You know what I mean? Coming in, you've had leadership there for the first 2 years that he's been in the building. And then, of course, watching the other cheetahs, guys like Kendall Dobie, even that just like really excelled the year before he got hurt. I just think that it's, and then of course Kendall Daniels this past season, along with him making plays at times as well. But I like Reggie. I think that he's a big breakout guy, waiting to happen as one of them for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely see that cheetah position sort of opened up for Reggie to have a lot of playing time and big impact, right? I mean, with the loss of Daniels, Dolby, Jeremiah Newcomb obviously didn't get a chance to really play much or establish much there. So, it's definitely Reggie's position, and what he brings to the table in terms of his skill set, I think makes that defense interesting for 26. And I mean, he's not 6'5", 245, but he gives you some different things, and he just presents some different challenges for opposing offenses if he's out there along with our other safeties and other cornerbacks in the linebacker group we have. So he's that third year guy, right? And it just seems to be on defense that third year guys really just sort of click. We saw that, as Kchris was mentioning, we saw that last year that the third year guys really kind of got going a little bit. So on my second pick, I went with obviously a biased pick here, maybe a little hopium here. I'm going with Daniel Akinkumi. It's his third season. He's been healthy all last year. He finally got some playing time, consistently practicing, consistently getting high marks from both Bill and Brent whenever he was mentioned. I think if they didn't think he was ready to break out, they probably would have told him that it was time to hit the portal. And they didn't do that. They made sure they retained him. So I think coming out of spring, we know who our 6 sort of starting offensive linemen should be. But if Daniel Akinkumi or a couple other guys can join that group or be very close to that group, it would be a huge win for us in terms of O-line depth. As we know, O-line injury issues have plagued us the last 2 years. So I think we're going to hear a couple of young offensive linemen are going to get some buzz. And Daniel, like I said, he's a redshirt sophomore. This is his third year. This is the time to make a move.
Without a doubt, I think you're probably right about that. It looked to me like, especially when you've got 2 guys that are bookend tackles that are freshmen that played most of the season for the better part of the season, and then but you could probably move one of them inside if you needed to. It kind of spelled a different thing for some of the guys that had even just 1 year guys that had been around. You kind of, the money switches around and it starts becoming am I going to get an opportunity because of the money? So for him to be back kind of tells you that they must think that he's going to be an important piece, at least in the rotation, I would think, right?
Yeah, because as you said, I mean, we got a lot of connections. You obviously have a lot of connections with Isaiah Dent, right? And that was a guy who needed to go somewhere to find playing time, right? And we knew that. He got hurt and he needed to find something.
Yeah, I think it was definitely going to be that to get consistent playing time. I mean, if you have a bunch of injuries, maybe he gets in there. But, I mean, overall, I mean, the money was already out there. I mean, the writing was kind of on the wall. Yeah, I think he had to go.
Yeah, he had to go. So it was a good move for him. That was the right move, I think. But the fact that OU retained Akinkumi, I think, and obviously, I think speaks well to where I think his spring will go. So that's kind of a biased pick there. I've been following Daniel since he verbaled to Oklahoma when he was in England.
I love that pick. I love it.
So I think it's an interesting. I didn't want to steal too many picks from you guys since I make the spreadsheet, so I get to pick first. I didn't want to steal too many names from you guys, so I went with Daniel as a name that I think. I'm hoping that when we come out of spring, where there's a lot of positive offensive line vibes, and guys like Afalava and Daniel Akinkumi are guys. Peyton Joseph are guys that we're talking about. Well, we got some other guys behind the 6 that we thought were going to be the guys.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. Go ahead, Kchris. We'll let you go now. You messed it up, but we'll bring it back to you. Here you go.
Jason's on my case tonight. Anyways, no, yeah, James Nestor is my second guy, y'all. I think that from everything you're hearing, it's on him. Go out there and do it. He has the prototypical size. He has seems like he has all the intangibles, and I think the thing I love most about it is that hey, football is his sport, right? So he has made that decision to go all in with football. So he's betting on himself, and I'm always going to bet on that. And plus, again, like I told you guys, that's something that's huge for me, and I can't wait for us to talk about that as this all season goes on. But just the guys that OU that these coaches have bet on that they didn't go into the portal. Last year this time we were kind of talking. Well, I think you need a corner. Maybe you need a corner. Maybe you don't need a corner. I don't know. Turns out we didn't necessarily need a corner. We just needed to trust what was going on with development and everything. And I think the same thing could be said for the linebacker room. So I'm excited to see who can be that fourth guy, who could be that third guy, especially. But I think that's going to be obviously you have Kip Lewis. I think Cole Sullivan, you're kind of penciling him in somewhere there.
Right.
James Nesta is going to be a serious name in there. Who's going to be that next guy, whether it's a freshman or it's somebody that's returning? So I think that it's interesting because we kind of move away from corner because I think you have solidified the corner room with the transition to the new coach, Coach Morgan. But at the same time, I think now the conversation that we were having about the cornerback room last year is what we can have about the linebacker room. Somebody else is going to pop in that room. And there's a whole bunch of names, but I would say Nestor right now. I'm excited to see him in this defense, and I think that he could potentially be a stuffer. I mean, the size and the attributes, they just speak for themselves. So, yeah.
Okay. Anything to add? I like that pick as well. I think Nesta. And when you heard that he's going to stop playing baseball, you kind of had to figure that he must be doing some things that made the linebacker coaches, Coach V, really say, hey, you got an opportunity to really make a mark here, but you're going to have to focus and look. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's competition for those spots, man. This isn't a room that you can screw around and rest on your laurels and think that you're going to get a play, because I don't think that you can. And I think it's like that a lot of places on that defense, right? We were talking about Reggie Powers a minute ago. I remember his dad talking about that last year on my show in the morning, just saying, look, these guys, it's in practice, there's a lot of competition, and you cannot afford to screw up for a day because you could lose your spot. You lose your opportunity. So, it's something that they have to bring it every day. I think I like the James Nesta pick myself. Mr. Mason?
Yeah, I think it's a great pick. I mean, my OU sources are indicating that he's had a great winter. That the OU coaches really, when they were looking at the whole Owen Heineke, is he coming back? Is he not coming back? Do we add another linebacker? Not add another linebacker? We talked a lot about that in the in our portal discussions, the portal madness stuff that Chris and I did, and we, when we met back up with you on Thursdays, we all talked about that. Do we need another linebacker? And I think Nesta, the confidence in what Nesta is going to be, and he's 6'3", 235. I mean, he runs all over the field. His high school footage was fantastic. So that commitment, as Chris talked about, to football, which was his favorite sport out of high school. I remember an interview with him where he said, well, I thought baseball was going to be my future, and I was kind of focused there, but football's really my favorite sport. And he said, and once OU offered me, I was like, oh, okay, then I actually have a path here.
Maybe I'm good enough to play it. Yeah.
I'm good enough to play it. So, but I mean, you bring up a good point, Jason, and Chris. We talked about it last year with our two big portal additions that where folks were, questioning what OU was going to get out of them. If you don't run hot, you're not going to play. I mean, this is just the facts, right? I mean, this is what Brent told Marvin Jones Jr. Hey, we love you, but you gotta run hot. Otherwise, I got three other guys who are running hotter than you that are gonna play more than you. So, and I think this is what we'll see is I think we'll see some competition in the linebacker spot. There's an opening for the young Lions, right? There's because if we had returned Omasigo and Kobe and Owen, there wouldn't be any room really for, any young lions to make up to hit to play. But in the last year or two, the linebacker group has been a veteran senior group, right?
Yeah.
You go from you got Stutz and then you've got Kip and you've got Samuel Osego and Kobe and Owen Heineke. But there's the two deep at linebackers wide open, so go grab it.
Yeah, and I think that's the good part about this is that you've got a guy that has a ton of experience in Kip to still come back and lead the group. And then you've got Cole Sullivan, who's had some experience. Obviously he played quite a bit at Michigan, and he proved to be a really good player. But then you've got guys that their experience is minimal, but what you've seen from them on the field at practices and stuff like that tells you that they got an opportunity to be important for the team. I think the same is true for like my next guy. And I this one, everybody's going to know this is probably a little bit of a biased pick, but I think everybody's been waiting on it, and it's Michael Boganowski. I just think that everybody's been kind of waiting on this kid since you heard Teddy talking about him possibly being the best safety at Oklahoma's ever, or that he's ever seen. As a freshman going through spring and that kind of stuff. I mean, that's a big billing, and I think it's a lot to live up to. But what we saw at the end of last year with the way that, Kchris talked about him in the Tennessee game and some of the stuff that he kind of allowed the other guys to make plays because he was the guy that was lurking over the center, that was taking away routes, that was run fitting very well in a lot of situations. And I think obviously you think about the big hitting and all the big hitting stuff that you expect from him, and I think that's what everybody can't wait for, right? Is the hitting. So, I mean, and he brings that for sure, But I think that, like I said, I don't think it's a stretch to think that he's going to have a breakout season. Obviously, RSJ being gone, it's going to opens that spot up for him to really make it his own. And it's the same reason that I had Reggie as my number one guy for the Cheetah, because I think that there's minimal competition for the spot for both of them. You know what I mean? You have to play well. We know you have to play well, but I think that both of these guys have shown over their first two seasons that they were playing them as true freshmen and as sophomores on a higher level, and now I think it's become their position. So I expect a lot out of Mike Jr. and yeah.
It's the technical part of it for me. I know coming in, hey, run stuffing, safety, could be somebody that comes downhill, puts the hurt on people and stuff like that, which I'm sure that he still can. But it's the fact that these kids have come in. And I mean, that's what I hate so much, that you lose a Hardy with that trio right there because you felt like, hey, that's serious. But I think Man will be next up on that end. But at the same
Sure.
time, you look at Boganowski, and again, like I said, I challenge everybody, go back and look at that Tennessee game and look at some of the things he did as far as when he was robbing out there, because he took away a lot of stuff. And it's the attention to detail, it's the technique. And same thing I was saying with Okoye, I think that happened for Boganowski last year, which was the athleticism, the intangibles you can't teach. Those match the work ethic, the motor, and the actual technique you need to play that position at a high level, especially in this defense. So, to me, I think that what I was most excited about with him, guys like Powers, was that yes, they're young, but this defense is clicking with those guys. So that's what is really great for me to see, is that the development is there on and off the field with all these kids as far as them buying into the system. So again, just seeing them be able to play their roles and everything, and seeing them be able to blossom in this, the superstars. I mean, to me, I think that's going to be great for us, and I think that somebody like Peyton Bowen, he may prosper this year mostly because of that. Obviously RSJ, I think hats off to him, and what he did at the combine was just unbelievable for him. But at the same time, I think that again we're in the same position as we were last year when we're saying I, I think that you have a chance to be even better this year with
Yeah.
the kids that were behind them.
I think there's something to be said for that. I feel like there were times that they probably could have played Boganowski instead of RSJ in certain situations.
Sure.
You know, they
Sure.
certainly had to put him in and let him play some. But I think if RSJ's already gone or he's hurt or something last year, I think Boganowski shines then. You know what I mean? I think that he was already showing that.
Yeah.
Mr. Mason, you have something to say about that one?
Well, I mean, so if you think about like the great, the early great Brent defenses, and we think about those classic 2000, 2001 seasons, you've got like Roy, Brandon Everidge, and like JT Thatcher as like the three safeties who really, I mean, just dominated passing games, and and Roy was able to come up as basically a linebacker, and run fits, and I think
Get short of a linebacker.
yeah, short of a linebacker. But when you think about Bogo, Bowen, and Powers, you may have three guys that as a threesome, give us some, give us some echoes like, wow, that's, especially when you think about the guys we have at corner coming back. Really the 2000 2001 secondary is really kind of the benchmark, right? When you had Andre Wolfork and Derek Strait, and you had Roy, and you had Brandon Everidge, and you had JT Thatcher. It was
so good, dude. They were so good.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the benchmark. But when you think about the guys, the secondary returning that we have, there's there's some echoes there. If Powers and Boganowski raise their games as we think they will, because Brandon Hall coaches up his safeties. They get better year over year. We've got the evidence to back that up. Is that talent?
And I think that was something that Michael Sr., being on the show as much as he is, he talked about, what he had told him is, man, you got Billy Bowman Jr. To sponge up from as a freshman. Do so. You know what I mean? Follow him around, do everything he does, find out. And of course, Bowman, obviously, he set an example. He did a great job. I mean, we all love Billy. You know what I mean? And what a playmaker. But these guys have taken on that mantle that you talk about, that, there's a lot to live up to in that at these positions.
Yeah. So I think that's what, I think again, when we're talking breakout third year guys, the sort of the Taylor Wine kind of story, right? It is very possible that, Boganowski has the kind of season where we're like, well, he did blow some folks up, but those INTs and pass deflections, almost more important, right? That's the complete game from him that I think there's a good chance we may see. Same thing with Reggie Powers, right? Like, I love the big hits, but what I love just as much are the interceptions, the pass deflections, getting, the coverage plays that allow the sack, because the quarterback has to, doesn't feel confident, and all of a sudden, Jaden Jackson, runs over them. So yeah, I think those are interesting choices. I mean,
and I very easily could have, and I mean, honorable mention, because he's been one of my favorites, and we've been talking about him already a little bit, starting Nigel Smith, man. I can't wait to see more of Nigel Smith as well. This is a guy that's been patient, but we know that they wanted him to stick around because they've invested in him doing so.
Yeah, again,
even though they had to redshirt him the first year, and then he didn't get a lot of love last year either.
It was tough. That room was so stacked, and we were in so many close games.
So many close games to break into, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But I do find it interesting, guys. So if we have just a minute, none of us chose an offense. I'm the only person that chose an offensive player, and I chose an offensive lineman. If there was one skill position guy who's not Isaiah Satania, not X-Rob,
Elijah
not Blaylock, do we all agree that we're waiting and desperate to see the Elijah Thomas breakout?
Yep. I almost picked him too, but
when I asked Sooner fans this question today, that's the name I kept getting. It was Okoye and Elijah Thomas. It was, bang, 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 bang. So
yeah, I think Elijah Thomas is everybody. I mean, it's almost to the point where it's, mythology, when they start the things that they talk about. You remember going back and watching some of his film from high school, and then the stuff we've heard about, and he wins the dunk contest last year, when they were messing around in the spring and stuff.
Well, and then EJ says he's like, the Redskins. He says that's the guy who reminds me of the Redskins first round pick from LSU that was the old rookie guy that hurt his knee. Malik Neighbors, right? Is that right?
Malik Neighbors, yeah.
And that's what when your position coach compares you to the offensive rookie of the year.
Sure.
I mean, that's the expectation. But yeah, I think I'm with you guys that we need
That's
a
what
lot.
it is for me. That would be if I was looking at a guy for that's been here already that to break out. It'd be him.
Yeah, that's the
On
name.
the offensive side for sure.
That's the name we're all kind of looking at. So, well,
Yeah.
guys,
Guy like Jimmy says, he's an alien.
we just need to see him, burst out of someone's chest and
I love that one.
We just need to see him be the xenomorph on offense and tear up some defenses. Is there any other, and one last chance, any other names that, you're like, as we discussed this, you're like, I can't believe that. He's kind of my, okay, Chris, we'll give you a chance for one more name, just one more name that you're
On
dying.
an offensive guy, you're saying, right?
It can be wherever.
Oh, okay.
It's a returning player, offensive guy. Because I'm so excited to see really a lot of them. I'll be honest with you. I'm gonna throw a weird name out. I mean, I'm throw a weird name out there for you simply because it kind of goes several different ways. But Michaela, I'm excited to see what is the maturation process for him. Is that Nitta's job now with him coming in, or is Michaela the guy that can take center to a different level? Because he played really good football down last year, but I think we're all trying to see, will he be able to take that next step and pass pro perfectly fine. But I think it's the run blocking that you're like, hey, there's still a lot to be desired there, right?
Yeah.
So I think that, to me, I think that's the question, and that's what I'm excited to see, because I thought that he gave us the athleticism, the length that we needed at that position. And again, Nitta is undersized, but Nitta has played the position, so I
Sure.
think it's one of those things to see kind of what does that situation look like. That's something that I think we should
I
definitely.
think you need him to be a breakout guy, don't you?
Yeah.
And Nagy, when he was brought in, was like, this guy's a day 2, day 3 kind of NFL guy. So there's if he can get his strength and get that, I mean, he came in late, so if he can put on strength and conditioning can kind of get him going, I think that's a good call, Chris.
Yeah.
Hey, Stephen G, I think that I just said maybe it's important for one. This one's damn sure important for him to be a breakout player this year for Oklahoma, without a doubt.
Yeah. We need him to be playing at an elite level. Top five SEC quarterback, top 10 nationally.
Absolutely.
Top
he
10
needs to
nationally.
he needs to be a top 10 in the country type of player.
Yeah.
Or at the very least be very good at managing the game, which we're not sure that that's what he is. So, I think, man, this is a fair Stephen G. This is a really, really good comment, man, on your part. Well done.
So we talked about some breakout guys who've been in the program. So we're talking about freshmen here. We're going to give. I gave Kchris a dispensation here for his name. So I gave him a dispensation, but we're talking freshman. Has to be a true freshman. We're gonna give Kchris a little bit of a papal dispensation here.
Papal dispensation.
If you guys aren't familiar with that, look it up.
It is.
Let's just say that historically it kind of caused some problems, but overall, we're going to give him a carte blanche to do a little bit different. Because I'm mainly interested to see his discussion about the dude. So, but I had the first chance. I got I filled this out, so I chose 2 guys to try and give you guys a little more field to work with. But I did choose a ringer, Jake Krell. And we're talking freshman of influence. If Jake Nagy, everyone's talked about him. Everyone's talking about him in the winter workouts. If he can put on 10, 15 pounds of good weight between now and August with his pass rush moves, his get off, I think Jake Krell has but of course, this there's a chance though that Okoye, Gallimore, and Nixon could put him in a redshirt mold, right? I mean, because Chavis has got a stacked room of athletes. But I think, based upon everything Nagy said and what I've been hearing off season, that Jake Crowell is gonna be a fourth quarter pass rush, plug him in third and long weapon, and he's gonna get some QB hurries. He's gonna get some QB hits, some sacks, and we're gonna be like, yep, that's our next R. Mason Thomas. That's our next pass rusher where you have to account for it. It's like when you hear Todd McShay and Daniel Jeremiah talk about RMT, they say that he has a pass rush plan. That his get off is there and he has a plan. And I think you see the early signs of that kind of stuff from Jake Crowell.
Okay. Yeah, I like Jake Crowell too. I think that's an easy one, low hanging fruit, because of just what the expectations have been. We've got to see a lot of him as a guy from IMG, and a lot of stuff on social media, him kicking top linemen's asses.
I mean, and big guys, like 350-pound guys.
Correct.
And Felix Ojo still has nightmares about him after he embarrassed him.
Yeah. That's why he went to Tech. He didn't want to have to mess with
no part of him. So
yeah, no parts of Jake, bro.
Okay, Chris. Let's go with your freshman. Let's go with your freshman.
Yeah, I think I went with Jaden Petit. I'm excited to see if he can crack their rotation. Can he be that guy? The guy has all the potential in the world, the size, the intangibles. And again, I think all three of us, I can go out on a limb and say that I think all three of us still have a lot of faith in what Emmett Jones can do. I think that this is a kind of a make it break it year or whatever for a guy like that. Maybe we're just speculating out there, but regardless, I think that he has some real weapons in that room, and I think that's one guy that could be a weapon. Now, obviously, you kind of look at gosh, who was the kid? Jason, you know the name. I'm blanking out. The kid that went into the portal, came back. The one that's from Lubbock.
Ivan Carrion.
Yeah. Now with Carrion coming back, actually knowing the offense, and Flash doing workouts, doing those scrimmages, those sessions or whatnot, is that a guy that kind of fills that spot, allowing him? You still got Manny Choi. So I'm just talking about some of our taller receivers. Is that void already filled, right? But this is a guy that could come in as a freshman and could have an impact. So I think he's a name that I'm looking out for. Not necessarily maybe he's in that rotation, but I'm hopeful that we can get a glimpse of him, Josiah Rogers, see what all these kids are. I'm hopeful that, even though I know we have Michigan, we have the Georgias, teams like that, I'm hopeful that it's not us, wasting those type of games on kids like, wasting those games, I meant like the UTEPs, the New Mexicos, different things like that. I'm hopeful to see them in some real action.
That's the only time that you see some of these freshman guys is up against teams that, it doesn't really tell you what they are.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get that. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Did you guys see the Josiah Rogers video when he was working out with the gym team, the men's gymnastics? If you have not seen that on Twitter, that kid looks like a stupid athlete, like ridiculous lateral explosion, speed, and kind of quickness. Crazy. I mean, and the hype on him's building a little bit. He's starting to get some hype. I mean, Chris, Jaden Petit, and winter workout. We're hearing a lot about him, but we're hearing more about Rogers. And I think part of that a little bit is you watch this gym workout stuff he was doing, and it's like, how the hell did he just do that? I mean, just some jaw-dropping, explosive athlete kind of moments when he's hanging out with the number one men's gymnastic team in the country. So, I mean,
yeah,
when he's doing that kind of stuff, and he flashes, that says something. So,
yeah, I went with and I was thinking about this one, and I left it off there because I wasn't sure, but I think everybody's right. They kind of changed my mind on it too. It's Jonathan Hatton too, because of the fact that you kind of need him to be a breakout guy. I think at some point, right? I don't know that it's right away. I know with Blaylock and X Rob, I think that they're the expectations are for them to be the guys, the 1-2 punch. But I also think that I believe that they're going to do things differently here. And this kid is a blend of speed. Uh, he's big. He runs through trash. He can do a lot of things. Samaje Perine is the guy that keeps coming back to mind whenever I think about Jonathan Hatton, and I think that he's going to be a stud, man. I just think he's a good player. I also think you probably better play him and find out, because he came to Oklahoma because of DeMarco Murray, and and they flipped him because of DeMarco Murray, and then DeMarco's not here now. So if you don't find out what he is, you probably don't get to find out what he is. So, but I like him anyway. I've liked him from the start. I keep going back to what you said. I think it was right after the season was over with about, if your dog's gonna bite, he'll bite as a puppy, and that especially works for running backs. And I think that we've seen that in the past, right? So I think Hatton's a good call on that. What's up, Unc?
Yeah, I think, and he's having great. He's having good. I mean, he's having great workouts. Walker is getting a lot of pub because of how good he looks too, and
Sure.
I think we both realize that there's a good chance Hatton and Walker are going to get a lot of run in spring. Right? You don't need X Rob and Blaylock re-injuring anything. You want to give those young freshmen a lot of runs. So I mean, I think there's a good chance one of those two freshmen probably starts the spring game. I mean, and
Do you think that there's going to be some level of, with a new running backs coach in the building? Do you not want to say, if you're Blaylock and X-Rob, you kind of have to show something to him a little bit, don't you?
I agree that I agree that I think McCullough that adds an element to it. I just don't know, Jason, and maybe we'll hear more next week when they do the press conference, introduce all the new people, and kind of do the pre-spring press conference stuff, and then they're going to take a week off for spring break, and then start spring practice. I think like on the 23rd. I think that's what makes they're going to go 3 straight weeks. So as I understand it, so. I think it's just uncertain where X Rob and Blaylock are with their rehabs and what they're ready to do, and you need to make sure that you're giving them the runway to get healthy, because like I said, you've got Avant who needs to learn the offense. You've got 4 or 5 running backs that you can use for spring to get the reps and do what you need, and crash course, toss them in the deep end of the pool, see if the puppy bites, right? See if Walker and Hatton. So I think there's a good chance that Walker and Hatton could be the primary running backs with Avant in the spring game. I mean, we'll see. If Brent says no, Blaylock and X-Rob are completely ready to go, then okay, that's different, right? But
and I also think, if they are changing some things up, it may not be as cut and dried as you don't need to see them at all.
right,
But I think you probably don't want them getting banged up a whole bunch in spring. I would say that part. I would agree with you there for sure. Right.
Yeah, so we'll see, but I think it's again, he's been as advertised, and I think obviously the McCullough transition will be interesting how to see. But if I'm McCullough, I think I'm having a heart to heart with Hatton about. Did you just see the 2 Notre Dame running backs go 1-2 in the draft? They're my dudes. You have that ability. So
fair enough.
Let's. I mean, it would be one again. This is why this hire was such a slam dunk, right? That it was
absolutely. We talked about it last week. I agree. 100%.
It's such a slam dunk that you're just psyched about the running back room and the transition going forward. There's not a lot of questions here. I mean, they hired the best guy they could possibly get.
And don't get me wrong, there's definitely flack you can give BV about certain decisions that have been made, but kind of going forward, especially since like the Latrell, that whole thing kind of came tumbling down. I think that the level of hires, obviously we could, Joe John and stuff like that, but I think the level of hires that he's made these past couple of seasons have, and I think it's paid off. I think, he bet on Chavis, and I think Chavis is now really coming into form. And again, DB room and DN room, because where that was at, I mean, obviously we have that 1 year, or guys, I guess you could say we had, Um, um, what was
Well,
it?
they weren't getting the recruits right away, right? They weren't getting the guys that everybody wanted to see them get.
Yeah, I mean, out of Isaiah Thomas and that crew when on the edge, like they were pretty good. Benito coming off that edge, like those guys were really good, and that was like the only year out of that Lincoln Riley era that you felt like, hey, we got dudes right that are living up to the billing, but um, I just think that those last couple of years it just wasn't there, honestly. And I mean, just coming with BV now, I just think the development has been there, but the coaching, the level of hires that he's made have been tremendous, and they've done work. And I think he's surrounded himself not just with guys, but he's went out there and got head coaches, guys who have been defensive coordinators. And hell, we want to really, I mean, if we're just being real, we got Notre Dame running back coach, but we got an NFL running back coach. Genty finally got going out there with the Raiders, and he started to actually flash and show why he was drafted so high. But that's a guy right there that you're like,
I
hey,
kind of forgot about that part too. But and Genty was looking really good at the end of the year.
Not to derail us, but I think this is close to the strongest top to bottom OU staff. If Arbuckle proves he can make offensive changes, improve quarterback play, I think top to bottom, this is from a recruiting standpoint, I think it may be the best recruiting staff we've had in forever. Top to bottom. And I think coaching wise, it's pretty damn. They got to prove some guys. They got to prove it on the offensive side, but overall, I think it's as strong a staff as OU's had in a long time.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You want to go into your
my second pick. Okay, so this guy has been blowing up in terms of the offseason workout rumors and stories we've been getting, and it's Jacob Curry, the linebacker from Miami. He looks fantastic. They love what he's bringing, and I think with Owen Heineke not coming back, as we said, there's some openings for young guys, young Lions to seize some opportunities and play. And I think if Jacob Curry can get to like 220, 225, I think he can play maybe at Cheetah or at will linebacker and provide depth there. And he's so good in coverage, his instincts. I think in spring we're going to be hearing a lot more about Jacob Curry, and he's really going to push to get in that 4 or 5 linebacker, that linebacker group. I say that with the fact that there's a linebacker wild card who's not getting a lot of mention, and it's Marcus James, who is a ridiculous athlete, ridiculous physical skills, and and he enrolled late, so we didn't hear about him in spring, and we didn't hear about him in the fall because I think he had a surgery in August. We just haven't heard anything about him. That when you talk about that dunk contest, it was Elijah Thomas, C.J. Nixon, and Marcus James, old tomahawk dunking windmill, doing their Dominique Wilkins to age myself impersonations.
I remember Neek too.
But I think Jacob Curry, his senior film was just fantastic. The kid is he's got a lot of skills, and I think if he puts on some good weight, which he's enrolled early, it's not it took Kit forever to put weight on. Hopefully he doesn't have that issue, but if he can get to 220, I think we're going to see a lot of him on defense, maybe. And again, if he can play some Cheetah, that allows Taylor Heim maybe to play some Will. So I think he has some opportunities at Will and Cheetah, I think, to give OU some quality reps this fall.
Okay.
All right, Kchris, we've got your freshman, but so hit us with why this was your guy.
Do you want me to go with that, or you want me to skip me and go to Jason? I'll pick a different person. What you want?
No. I think
Well, he didn't play, so I mean, he didn't play really. So
he hasn't really played at Oregon, so he's practically a freshman. So tell us why we'll let you make a third pick after this. Go ahead and tell us why you chose Dakota Field.
I go with Dakota Field simply because I think he's going to see the field. I think that it's a kid that has some measurables and some intangibles, And as long as he could pick up what he needs to pick up, I think that this could potentially be a kid that I don't necessarily know where you see him. Could you see him at safety? Could you see him at DB? I know probably DB right now. It looks like the spot, but could this guy kind of sneak into that cheetah spot play whenever you need a cover guy out there for Powers if you need to give Powers a spell? I mean it's a guy to me. I just think that it's the intangibles, man. And I mean 6'2", all of those things. Been in a college program. How dedicated was he? That's a question to still be answered. But watching the interview with him on One Oklahoma and all the rest of that stuff,
Yeah.
you kind of look at his body language and everything, and you could tell he's relaxed and he feels like he's in a good space. But you see him and you say, I see somebody who's hungry. I said the same thing about Okoye last year as a freshman. Saw him at Red River. And I
As a
said,
true
"That kid
freshman, he was hungry. Okoye was. He was,
starving."
chomping at the bit to get on
Yeah.
the field.
So this is a guy here that I think he has a chip on his shoulder, something to prove. He knows that he was highly recruited uh, out of high school and all the rest of that stuff. So I think that he has a chip on his shoulder to try to live up to that. So this is a kid I think that could potentially get out there on the field. We shall see, but that's somebody that I got my eye on.
I mean, high school wise, he was a top 100 player in the nation. I mean, his measurables are exactly what you're looking for in terms of a DB to be, today's DB 6'2", 195. He's got track times that prove it. If he can get redirected while at Norman, and I think transferring as that kind of wake up call, right? And he knows Stacy Ford is kind of a mentor for him, I think, which I think helps. He could be interesting. All right, okay, Chris. He's technically a redshirt sophomore this fall.
Yeah.
So let's give you a chance to give us another freshman.
Well, you want me to go? You want me to go through?
Go to
I'll go
Jason.
ahead.
We'll go to Jason, then we'll come back to Kchris and actually let him choose a second freshman.
And it's somebody that I know that I've been hearing some things about him too over the early winter workouts and that kind of stuff of being a dog in the weight room and just having the right attitude. He's loving being in Norman as well, and it's Christian Moore. He was kind of a sleeper guy. I know that they kind of were trying to hide him as far as being their interest in him, but we talked about it. We've talked about this at length. But I've had him on twice on my show. But this is a kid that appears to be picking up what they're putting down for him, and from everything I understand, Nate Dreiling loves him, and it just seems like there's another opportunity for a guy that a linebacker guy that. There's a reason why they didn't hit the portal so much is because some of these guys are showing out early.
I mean, he's a run through the wall guy, right? I mean,
oh yeah.
Brent says run through that wall, and Christian will knock that damn thing down.
Megatron, it is. It's Megatron. Yeah. So yeah, he's not afraid of any of it. So I think he's expecting to come in here and have an opportunity a little bit. I don't think that he's not demanding anything. I think he's going to work for it. But from everything I've heard from people back in Alabama, even. That know him well is that he's doing very well and loving it out there. I think that's he fell in love with Oklahoma the first time he went out and got to visit last year during the season.
Well, and that summer camp session was kind of revelatory for him, right? Like, okay, I can play linebacker, and your coaches are like, well, who is this kid? Because they certainly didn't invite him. He showed up. I do think when Nagy was on did a recent interview with Dari, and Dari was kind of saying, who are the freshmen that are going to start? And he's like, I can't do that, right? He goes, I will tell you this. He goes, we acquired a number of violent, physically violent players, great
and
kids.
Violent is very, very apt for Kristen.
And he said, great kids, but physically violent. Guys who were going to star on special teams. The linebacker group are all, these are guys with bad intentions and are physically violent. And he goes, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in the greatest way possible. So, Bojandro, again, can he just stay healthy? And they just put a video
There's
out.
another one.
Yeah, just put a video out where he's running around and that kid's just ripped, and
Yeah.
hopefully he's past his.
There's a lot of freshmen that you could see becoming.
Yeah, I mean that's getting
an opportunity, right?
Yeah,
I just think there is, but I like Krista Moore. What a great kid, by the way too.
I mean, he could
go back to Kchris.
He could. You're right. It may be Jason that it's special teams. We're like, oh my god, he just blew up that guy.
He shows out in year one. And by the way, though, that's a great thing. You watched Teddy and Gabe the other day with Kanik. There was a lot of discussion about making a career for yourself on special teams, but you certainly can make a name for yourself on your new football team by killing it in special teams too.
Yeah, don't kill our guys, Christian. Kill the other guys. Don't hold it back. All right, Kchris, you've got the whole pantheon of the whole rest of the freshman class to choose.
I'm trying to figure out. I'm staying in on the defensive side of the ball, okay? And one of these two, in my opinion, could get some time this year. I'm just going to be honest with you guys.
Can I give you a lean which way you should go?
Which way?
You should go Tank Carrington.
Okay. Okay, sir. That's great. I was thinking more Derek Johnson Jr.
Oh, really? All right.
Also, I got to give a shout out to my uncle. If my uncle's on the panel, got to give his guy one. Markel Ford is his guy. He thinks that guy has all the upside in the world.
He's been in a boot.
Yeah, he's been in a boot. That's the only reason why I'm like I'm nervous to even say the name right now. But
and Brandon Hall badly wanted that kid, and I think we can say Brandon Hall's got skins on the wall to say Brandon Hall really wants the kid.
He knows who's going to be good. Yes.
So it's breaking out lately from a number of places. George Stoya mentioned him this week. I had some other sources mention him. Is that apparently Tank Carrington is blowing up right now in workouts and looks fantastic. And Nagy was talking him up in December saying, watch this kid, he might help us. And when you think about the a pure three tech that we lost to Grayson Halton, who, again, we all just loved what he did at the Combine and love what G-Baby did for us. Tank Carrington at 6'3", 285, 290 could give us some of those three tech reps that we're looking for. That get to the quarterback kind of stuff. He's blowing up apparently. That's the rumors that's out there now. It could be the same source kind of spinning around, but I've now heard it from 3 different places.
Yeah, I've heard that too. I've heard it too.
So, but yeah, Kchris.
And I've heard the same. Like I was saying about Nigel Smith, that's where I was feeling about Nigel too. Is that that he kind of was that tweener, kind of like G Baby. That you're not expecting him to be a 300-pounder, really. Maybe 290, maybe 285, but that way he's going to be. I think he's got the ability to kind of move in and out a little bit as well. But
and he leaned up. He leaned up his senior year. He was like 6'5", 265, 270. So he had kind of 255 range. He had leaned up a little bit. So
he told us on the show that he didn't want to be a 300-pounder. He said,
he did. Yeah, same thing. I had a great interview with him. He was, I think I want to stay at defensive end, but I think his future, as we said, there's a reason why Todd Bates was not slobbering all over portal defensive tackles. He got one guy. They only wanted one guy. And they didn't kick the tires and spend a lot of money on anybody. Not big money. I mean, like there was a lot of big money. There were guys that people paid big money for, right? In terms of D-line. We lost the guy from Michigan State to USC because they gave him a big check.
Sure.
The guy from Penn State who ended up at Tennessee, he got a big. There were guys out there that OU was like, we've got Stone and Jackson. I don't need to spend money at this level, right? I've got my two. I've spent money there, so I think Bates is like my young Lions are ready to eat. I've got guys ready to both Smith and Wilson, cracking that that 2 deep, almost 3 deep at defensive tackle was impossible for those guys last year. I mean, even Marcus Strong, who was a third-year player, had a hard time getting reps.
Yeah.
And he only really
That's the depth of that room, man. That's the depth of that room, and
only
that's
really played when Jonathan Jackson kind of got banged up, and they really needed to cycle back his reps. So,
and what's crazy too is we've talked a lot about the fact that in this era of college football, where the NIL and the portal and being able to move around like they can, to be able to build the depth like that in that room is pretty amazing for Todd Bates.
And it's only draft day is only going to do Chavis and Bates more favors, right?
Absolutely.
When RNT and Grayson go in the second round, and Bates can, and those are the 2 guys they picked up at like the end of recruiting their first 30 days on campus.
No doubt.
That's February 2022 signees that Michigan and Oregon kind of walked away from Grayson. OU walked in there, and in 30 days, like 15 days basically, Miguel Chavis landed that kid. And then same thing with RMT, that they stole him from Iowa State. Yeah. And they came very close to landing the kid who started for Miami on their defensive tackle, who was their starting defensive tackle on that defense. They almost grabbed. No.
Oh, no.
The interior guy, I can't remember his name, but he was that close to verbally know you as well. So they almost pulled, like in 15 days, 3 legit NFL starting defensive linemen in 15 days, which is just a crazy recruiting story, and props to them. But that's
you've got Taylor Wine out here impersonating Chavis and stuff, and dressing like him and stuff, just because they love him. I mean, these guys, they love him. But I mean, you guys tell us if you're watching the replay of this, and you guys that have been in here on the live stuff, it's awesome that you've been kind of giving us your breakout guys, whether they're freshmen or whether they're freshmen or whether they're seasoned guys that you're just expecting them to get more opportunity this year. Did we miss anybody here? Tell us the guys that you like the most to make a big impact this year. I could think of other guys. I mean, there's other guys. I mean, the power line, you go back to the power line, I think there's a couple of other guys that you could still see making a big impact here. So it's,
I love what we saw from Wyatt Gilmore last year.
I was fixing to say the same name. I was like, Wyatt Gilmore seems to be that he might be a Taylor Wine type of guy, right?
That guy, when he was flying off the edge in the late fourth quarter time he got, I was like, damn, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right. And, I had sort of had him penciled in to try and fix our tight end problems, because in high school he was a really effective tight end. Good block, fantastic blocker, just was eating kids alive. I'm like, man, we need, But it does mention, we saw it from one of the guys in here is, I mentioned Marcus James, but C.J. Nixon is a name that is just floating out there.
That's another one of those freaky guys that you're like, whoa.
He's doing tomahawk dunks, and when you see him, I remember the picture of the Alabama win. Chavis has all the guys around him, and C.J. Nixon is basically, I think he's dressed out. They dressed him out because I think they needed to, because RMT was hurt. He traveled. I don't think they were going to play him, but they're like, we got to have another body because our Mason Thomas can't play. And you see it, and he's as big as PJ. And we like PJ.
One of those stud athletes, man. He could probably play 3 sports.
And he's twitchier than PJ. We know that explosive stuff that he has from the basketball court. If he can get all that going.
Oh, dude, he was such a good basketball player.
Yeah, if he can get all that going in football, that's where I just wonder if Jake Krell can get in the field, because I think Okoye. We all think there's a possibility Danny Okoye has one of those kind of seasons where we're all like, college football sites are like, who is this guy? Where did he come from? Right? And we were like,
oh yeah,
we've known all about him.
Yeah, it's like, and they've been holding him back. You know what I mean? They've been keeping the leash on him and not letting him play a whole lot. So it's like,
well, he's had great guys in front of him.
Explode. He's ready to explode out. He wants to play so bad. He was like that as a true freshman. He was pissed that he wasn't playing.
Yeah, so I think that's the question on Krell, is that if Nixon and Wyatt Gilmore are blow up and play like they do, it's just like you may just like Jake, we're just redshirting you because because Okoye is. How do I take Okoye off the field ever? It's it's gonna be one of those jobs, and there's a chance PJ, there's a chance PJ's ceiling. There's still runway there. He's not a finished product.
He's not, but it makes you wonder if that's why he wasn't thinking about getting in the portal.
Yeah, like I need to be with Chavis. This development environment's finally clicking for me.
Right.
So I mean, there's a lot of interesting storylines there. I mean, obviously, none of us mentioned Foji or Fasusi because we're like, okay, I don't think they're.
Well, they kind of broke out as freshmen, though, right?
Exactly. So that's why we didn't mention any of those guys. Yeah, I think it's there were a lot of elite athletes in last year's class that didn't play. Tristan Haynes, Trinae Washington, Marcus James, and C.J. Nixon. Just when you watch their high school film and their multi-sport and their multi-sport stuff, they were all just elite-looking kids. And OU got to redshirt Tristan Haynes and not have to play him like they should have redshirted Jacoby Johnson, but back in the day they just couldn't, right?
Yep.
They just couldn't do it. They needed an athlete like that out in the field. But they were able to redshirt Tristan Haynes, and I think at cornerback he could be someone who all of a sudden you're like, where's this kid come from? Because he's
same with Newcomb. Now
he's healthy, so there's some interesting pieces, and so we deliberately didn't talk portal guys because we're gonna have tee that up as a topic for next week, because next week we'll be able to meet and talk about stuff after the portal guys will get interviewed. They're gonna do the big interview of all the newcomers, so we'll have a chance to see some of the portal guys get interviewed and that give us a chance to do. So next week we'll do our portal picks. But guys, I think this is I was talking a little bit to the bat phone, and he was like, "It's a really great spring, and the only down note is Porter. Everything else this spring, it looks great, right? Softball, baseball, gym, tennis, golf.
Hey, Chris Mason,
Jenny B.
You may be able to get them in the tournament. Come on. I know we're about to get off. I'm just telling you. I'm telling you what they've been saying out there.
I saw Lenardi. But I'm just saying that.
Take your top lip and connect it to your bottom lip. You will shut the fuck
up. I'm just saying that if you add all the football hype, recruiting, all the everything going on, and spring practice is back. We get a spring game back. There's just there's a lot of positive vibes for Sooner Intel.
No doubt indeed. Yeah. Anything else from you, Kchris? We've been going for hour and 18 now at this point. So
I will say this real quick, and then we can end this. Okay. Haven't done this in a while, but people, welcome back to Chris's Corner. Let's have a conversation real quick. Hey, come here real quick.
I'm gonna go on mute here real quick. I'm gonna go
lock in on me real quick, guys. Okay. This is gonna piss some people off. Okay. Maybe my guy Jason. This is gonna piss some other people off. Some people are gonna agree with me. Guys, the NCAA did a good thing today. They did. I know. It sounds crazy to say that, but Trinidad Chambliss, look, I get it. Oh, Texas fans, if you snip this is not me hating on them. They beat us, right? They beat us in Norman. And hey, they almost made it to the championship game. So hey, hats off to those guys. But at the end of the day, I think the NCAA did a good thing, but as Lee Corso would say, not so fast, my friend. NCAA, I don't know what you're arguing. I think the argument that you put out there, what I saw on ESPN in the article, it's stupid. I'm sorry. I'm just going to call it. So I don't know. I think what you did was the right thing, but I'm not necessarily
sure. You want to tell us what you're talking about that they did?
Say that?
What did they do that you're talking about? I'm not sure I understand.
So they they filed against the injunction. Basically, the injunction that for Chambliss, they basically filed against them, and I say filed? Excuse me. They appealed the injunction, and they're basically saying it's not fair, and for the equitability, basically they want fairness because they're talking about the competition to others, to the kids who are not trying to just come back for another year for a paycheck. They didn't necessarily elaborate on that. Obviously, it's an article. Maybe I need to go and actually listen to what they have to say. But again, it's the right move. They should appeal it. They should try to go, but I'm just not.
Except that they didn't really argue it to start with, Kchris. It doesn't make me mad. It's as much as like I was in the courtroom and they didn't have an argument for it to begin with.
And I agree with you, Jason. I'm saying they did a good thing, but on the back end of it, I don't know how much success you're going to have simply because
they have one little opening, right?
Yeah.
So is that with Aguilar losing his case?
No, but there's a different deal. So this was
no. I mean, Jason, what they're arguing is that it is unfair to leave eligibility rulings in the hands of different states to states where athletes are getting.
No, I get that. Okay.
So that's the basis of their argument. It's like, look, Joey Aguilar doesn't get Tennessee doesn't have Aguilar because their court says no.
Right.
Mississippi's court, Ole Miss gets Chambliss because their court said yes. Unless you have someone making rulings over that stand across the sport, it's unfair and inconsistent and leads to a hodgepodge of policy decisions and rules. I don't know that they'll win.
That's hilarious on the face of it that's what they're talking about.
The inconsistency is, and that's great as far as on the face, but if we go to the underlying issue and what the real issue is, the simple fact of the matter is that the NCAA dropped the ball several different times. And firstly, if it's me, I'm not having a hearing with any judge that is within a 50-mile radius of where's Ole Miss, Biloxi?
No, it's in Oxford, which is
Oxford. There you go. I'm not having a hearing anywhere in any county that is within 50 miles of Oxford. We are going. Hell, we'll go to Starksville before we do that. I will have that case transferred several counties away.
But they didn't even do that. They didn't do that. They didn't bring in medical witnesses. They didn't bring in anything. I mean, their fight was mind-numbingly crazy to me that the arguments that they brought to the table that day, because they just didn't have any.
No,
and we're talking about it should have been a rubber stamp on the medical red shirt. Really, we're talking about a 6th year, not a 7th or 8th or 9th year like a lot of these guys. And if there's inconsistencies, it's that stuff.
Jason, like I told you, you got to argue your case. And if you're not going to argue your case, this is what it leads to. There's a thing called professional decorum, and that's not just me showing up to the court with an actual necktie or bow tie, not just a bolo tie.
Are we doing My Cousin Vinny? Is that a leather suit?
I'm just saying, there's a thing called professional decorum, but it also goes to the fact that you have to argue your cases. You have to go and present a real case. You cannot just say, hey, this is an egregious act on paper, so judge, do your thing so we can leave. You can't do that. And essentially, that is what the public perception of what the attorneys for the NCAA is doing. They may say they're doing differently, but that is the public perception. And at the end of the day...
Yeah, I mean, they didn't help that perception when they left before the judge even ruled.
Look, I'm spending too much legalese. I just wanted to say, people, look, the NCAA did something that they needed to do today, but at the same time, I think it's kind of a day late and a dollar short. We'll see what happens with this. I think that Trinidad Chambliss is going to play. So as this evolves, and if you're interested in that side, we'll talk about it a little bit more if you guys let us know. That's something
that certainly spices things up here in Mississippi.
I'm just telling you guys that I was shocked when I saw it. I was like, really? I was like, I guess that 30-day window to appeal hadn't ran yet. I thought that NCAA was just going to lay down and let it go. I mean, hell, this is one of your top stars, one of your faces of the NCAA right now, especially in college football. So I thought it was kind of over and done with. But if they're going this extra mile, because obviously what they want to do is, I think in the end, even if they don't win and get Chambliss out of college football per se, they still want to have at least try to get some type of stroke to where they could say, hey, Ole Miss, so you played a whole season and you won 14 games. Guess what? We're going to vacate all of those. They want the satisfaction of knowing that either A, Ole Miss doesn't get their quarterback for the season, or B, they played a whole season and it was for nothing. Just saying. Anyways, guys, that's Chris's corner. We'll get out of here now.
Ooh, you spiced it up. You spiced it up for real where I'm at right now. Sheesh, dang. Yeah. Okay. Well, here we go. Thanks for the man. I think it's that's a good way to end it though. But and look, I think it's clearly there's going to be some changes, and there's going to be a lot of changes, I think, in college sports over the next 4 or 5 years. But the biggest thing about it that I took from what you just said too is like, at some point, the NCAA has to figure it out, because it seems like they always pick the wrong battles.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, bro, what are you doing? And so I don't know, man. But yeah, interesting information. But yeah, hey, anything else, Mr. Mason, from you?
Nope. Just there's 31 kids on campus, maybe 35.
Yes.
The recruiting intel on Monday could be very, very spicy.
Yes, it could. I'll even probably sit in with you guys on recruiting intel on Monday. I'm excited about it myself. So yeah, make sure you guys check us out. Don't miss a moment. If you're not already a subscriber on all 3 of these channels, I don't understand why. Make sure that if you're not getting notifications, unsubscribe and resubscribe. Sometimes that'll help, and make sure you select all content. That way it kind of helps make sure that you get it. You know, sometimes we'll have a pop-up show here and there, so you want to make sure that you get notified about that. So yeah. Other than that, we'll definitely be back here. I'll be back here tomorrow afternoon for the SEC Drive. And then, never know when we might pop up over the weekend, but certainly on Monday with OU Recruit Intel with these 2 guys. And I may even pop in myself for this one, but appreciate everybody coming in. Make sure you hit that like button on all 3 channels, become a subscriber, and we'll see you all on the next one.